Rebecca, you're free to start. All right. I think Rebecca is not in, but I believe she'll be coming around. So hello, everyone. This is Paulo Stanley. I am a student at Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology in Kenya. I'd love to welcome all of you to this webinar in which we shall be discussing on the role of optometrists in the role of student associations, in this case, optometry student associations, in the fight against avoidable blindness. Our panelists that we have three of us. We have Dr. Levi Osuagwu, who is based in Sydney. We have Dr. Nishi Gitau, who is the representative of the Optometry Association of Kenya to the African Council of Optometry. And then we have our own Dr. Andrew Wekesa, who is our assistant lecturer and also the head of outreach at the Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. So it's from the panelist side, you see, it's actually a cocktail of seasoned optometrists that are willing to share their experience with us in terms of telling us what is our role as students in this fight against avoidable blindness. What actually can we do, or how can we contribute towards making a contribution towards ending avoidable blindness? And now, without further ado, I'll welcome our panelists to introduce themselves and give us a short experience of them as students, even as we begin. So I'll start with Dr. Nishi. Dr. Nishi, you are welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for this platform. I remember the last time we talked with MMUOSA, we were finding ways of bridging the gap between OAK and MMUOSA so that we can have a continuation in leadership and also harmony between the association and the student association. Do we have any guests from CAFU, from Paimosi? Or it's just students from Masinde Muliro?
We sent the invite all over. I believe we have at least one or two, though I'm not sure if any of them has joined.
Okay, well, that's great.
Yeah.
So that's really great. I would also like to encourage you to find a way to bridge the two associations for the two universities. And even if you'd like to make it a call to your counterparts in KMTC, so that we can have one body for all students who work as an umbrella, then you can have the mini branches, then we can harmonize. Yeah, so these are just the few remarks. But other than that, I'm Nishi Wahu, formerly Gitau. Currently, I'm Kwemoi. Yeah, so my maiden name is Gitau, but right now I'm Kwemoi. Yeah, so I'm an optometrist here in Kenya. My practice is Trust Opticians and Trust Medical. Yeah, and I I have served as the Vice President to Optometry Association of Kenya, 2018 to 2021. I graduated from Masinde Muliro in 2017. So that's also to encourage you. You can start as soon as you leave. As soon as you graduate, you can get opportunities in leadership in the association. That's why I'm very emphatic on how we can bridge that gap between the association and the students. Other than that, currently I serve as the Secretary General of Optometry, or the Secretary General of African Council of Optometry. Yes, so those are the few roles that I have been able to partake in. Yeah, and so are we supposed to make our presentation right now?
We just the introduction part as we wait for Rebecca to come, and then we will pick up from there.
Yeah, so I think I can hand it over to the other presenters. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm actually in. Yeah.
Nice. Dr. Andrew, you may proceed.
Okay. Welcome all. I'm happy to see once again my friend Dr. Levi. Welcome. We have had some discussion online, but I think we'll escalate it further privately. My name is Andrew Wekesa. I've been actually, when I assumed the position of coordination of outreach, we didn't have any outreach program in the department, and even in the school, in the university, that was well structured. I will give my experience later on how we began and how I've fostered and some of the good steps that we have made as a department towards the end. Otherwise, I'm very happy, and this gives me joy in terms of seeing how students are playing a very major role in mostly bringing awareness of the eye health into the community and the society at large. Otherwise, feel welcome, and we'll have more interaction later. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Levi, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Stanley, for putting this together. It's just so heartwarming to see the number of students who are attending this session. So it just shows how optometry has grown to really bring everybody together. And I do really buy into what Nishi was saying. And I mean, I've known Nishi for a while, the same with Andrew, and I know the passion for optometry bonds in these guys, so it's really good to see how we can work as a body. All the silo programs we do on our own, they don't have big impact. The big impact we feel is when people come together on the same umbrella, the same vision to create a difference. It's really how things move. So for those who haven't met me, my name is Levi Osuagwu. My first name is Uchechukwu, but because the Australians find it hard to call Uchechukwu, it's quite long, so they prefer something easy. So Levi became a name that people know me with, but that's actually my middle name. So I'm an optometrist from background. I came from Nigeria. That's where I was previously, studied there, had an OD. Moved around a bit to Saudi Arabia, went to the UK, had my master's, then did my PhD in Australia. And then that's where I call home now. So my family is here. I do work in a school of medicine as the head of research in Western Sydney University for Rural Health. I lecture in epidemiology, public health, and any eye course as well that we create, and I kind of run some models myself. So that's what I do. And when I was in school, I was one of the heads of my Nigeria Optometry Association for the student body. I did lead that for a year. Did so many great things as well with students. I think that's where my idea and passion for student growth and the impact we can make really came from. And I've always been looking for opportunity to make things different. It wasn't fun when we were there. We didn't have a body like this. We all met on our own small spaces, but there was really nothing we could do to tell our voices and let our stories be heard. So I think with efforts, the African Federation of Optometry Students, we've really changed the game. People are really getting to know that optometry students are a force to reckon with, because without the young optometry, there will not be optometry in the next 5 years. We'll all be gone, So we need people that can stand up and stand up for good for the association. So this is why this is important to me, what you guys are doing. That's what we want to see. That's how optometry will have a sustainability platform. And we need to raise leaders that can stand in to close the gap in refractive error and all this. They depend on us. They depend on students, really. So I think it's really good to see this happening. So I'm quite happy to be here and to meet some of my good friends here as well. So thanks, Stanley, for inviting me.
Most welcome. Thank you for that session of introduction. I'd now hand it over to Rebecca to continue with the panel. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Stanley. Thank you, Stanley. I'm sorry, my network had a small hitch. And yeah, so thank you for taking over. And as I have heard the panelists speak, you can see a passion for association. And yeah, from what they were saying, you can actually see that they would really want to see more happen within, through association and all the benefits that it comes with. So I would like us to move to the next question. But before we move to the next question, I would like, before you answer the next question, I have a question that I think is going to break the. Okay, let me explain it this way. You'd find that we have Dr. Andrew Wekesa, Dr. Levi Osuagwu, Dr. Nishi Gitau, and majority of the audience are students. And before you answer, so I will ask this. I will ask this question first. What was your best memory back as an optometry student? I would like each one of you to give us to mention, not to really expound much. And yeah, so that's what I would like you to answer, each one of you, as you answered our next question, which will be, what are the ways in which these associations can contribute to the fight against avoidable blindness, which is our topic today majorly. Yeah, so we can start with Dr. Nishi Gitau.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. I think one of my fondest memories was when we were doing the research, for our dissertation, because it opened up my mind on how big and how much more optometry can be. Yeah, because we got to interact with a lot of patients and students. Yeah, and it really opened up my mind on how much more and how limited we think optometry is. It's not only about the refraction and detection of eye diseases. It can be so much more. I think we limit ourselves, and that interaction with so many people really made me. That's where I got the zeal, even for advocacy and all that. So thank you.
Thank you for that. So I wanted it to be in the fashion that you would answer this question, and then you also answer the question, our next question, which is, what are the ways in which these associations, the student associations, can contribute to the fight against avoidable blindness?
Okay. So how the student association can fight or can take a participating role in the role against avoidable blindness is through research. I think I would say research and advocacy. That would be, because in your own small roles, which I don't think is so small, I think we minimize it, but I think it can be as big and as large as unimaginable as you think, because there's so much, we have so much we can do. And one way to create advocacy or awareness of what actually optometry is through now, like when you're, like the example I was using about research. Because so many people don't know what optometry is, but through that interaction with people, that's when they get that exposure. Yeah, and also I think also educating, it should be, so in the advocacy also the education will come. So probably you educate other professionals about it, because not many, I've seen not many professionals, even doctors, know what optometry entails. And also even your patients can be your biggest advocate. Yeah, and also what you're doing, like what Dr. Andrew has said, the way you're working on community health and outreaches, that's another way. The student associations can work, and also collaboration. The biggest of them all that we keep on forgetting is collaboration. That's why I also create an emphasis on, I would really like to see a day where we have one body for all student optometrists in Kenya. It would be so powerful. You don't know the power of collaboration and unity. It creates such an impactful way. And I believe by empowering the student association, because we start from the grassroots upwards, we'll make our own bodies even nationally stronger, because we'll have empowered you with the capacity to interact with people, the power of capacity to advocate for your own profession, the power to interact with patients, and that would make your voices louder even as you progress and you get more experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nishi Gitau. So yeah, it's most people, some of the students may not really understand how much about research, because yeah, we get to do that when we're in the 5th year, and I would really agree that research really opens you to a world of what you really probably couldn't comprehend along the course. Yeah, and thank you also for giving us the points of education, outreach, collaboration, and advocacy. For the bit we have interacted with, I am sure most of us have actually seen how those are really impactful. So we'll move on to Dr. Levi Osuagwu. So, Dr. Levi, what are the ways in which the associations can contribute to the fight against avoidable blindness? Don't forget to give us your best memory as a student as you speak.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. I think, look, I had a great time as a student because I went into school hoping to study medicine as a year 1 student. So I was really enthusiastic to be a medical doctor. Then somehow I missed out in the pass mark to enter the uni, the year 1. So I got into optometry instead. And I was in optometry for a year, and my dad was saying, Levi, you need to change to medicine 2nd year. So I was racing year 1 to get a good grade, to change to medicine in 2nd year. And somehow I told my dad, I'm not going to change to medicine. He said, what? I said, no, I love optometry now. He said, no, that's not what we agreed. You know, you need to move on. This is medicine. So I said, look, I found this place to be peaceful. I love the passion of people I'm seeing. I know there's future. I looked up optometry. I said, this is new. You know, to me, I didn't know optometry before I went into school. So coming into that place and finding it as something that I can own a space for really gave me the motivation to keep going. So that's one of the good things, that you could find many of people who are in optometry, as at the time we went to school, did not plan to do optometry when they got in. You know, we all came into it because we either failed to get into medicine, one of those other professional degrees. Now, being in optometry school was fun because the most important thing for me was the opportunity to do outreaches like what Andrew was saying. Those days, on Fridays of every week, we did outreach programs where we go into communities with a van, all of us as a team, year 4, year 5, year 6 students. Now, that brought us together. It meant I could form relationships with my senior colleagues, because they were the ones who were teaching us, the younger ones. You know, we do all the refractions, we do all the ophthalmoscopy, they tell us what we're seeing, we speak to them. And in those cases, I saw most of the diseases I've never seen before. That's why I saw for the first time the impact of vitamin A deficiency in the eyes. That's where we saw the first cases of retinoblastoma. I saw those cases because we went to communities. And with that was opportunity to learn. Then the lecturers were talking to you as you're seeing them. This is what happens. You're practicalizing those things we read in textbooks. That really opened our eyes to how big we can contribute to optometry. So I think I love those people. We always look up to it. And because it's a group thing, you love the teamwork, you love the collaboration, we exchange roles. I could do ophthalmoscopy now. The next patient, I'm going to do retinoscopy. Somebody switches out to do visual acuity. We're doing all that together in one scene. So it was really fun. And you see the impact. The community enjoys it. The community love it. They start calling you doctor even when you're still in 40 because you wear the white gowns and all this stuff. So we really felt responsible for some other people. So that role really gave us the mindset to say that this is what we can contribute to the problem about vision impairment. So I think it was a good place to start. Now, looking into the role of associations like this, and I just want to come in with what Nishi said. It's important that we see the power that we have. I guess with students, we get lost in this study side of things where we don't see future for optometry. You don't know when you graduate now what's gonna. You look at your senior colleagues, they're not doing much. You're like, is this what I'm gonna do after this? But that's not optometry. Optometry is just big. It's big only when you open your eyes to the opportunities that are there. As an association, even just what you're doing, holding webinars like this, it's a platform for education. It's a platform to learn, to exchange ideas, to discuss cases, to bring yourself together, to say, how can we contribute to this advocacy program? How can we meet together and say, okay, we want to go and see the head of school to say, look, we don't like this course we are doing. Can we change this course to something that we can enjoy? This is what you can do as a body. You can change things just by working together, coming together, running workshops, learning new ways of combating refractive error, learning new ways of doing things. Technology is a big thing for us as well. And it lies in the hands of the young ones like you. Associations like this embrace technology. Very soon, eye care will be delivered in so many ways remotely by telehealth. What if the students are the ones who are going to the community and are able to connect these patients to another optometrist in the rural town? I mean, to somebody else where they can have the patients may not have the facilities. They may not have the technical know-how to do it. Those outreach programs are now being used as a platform to do telemedicine. And students play a big role because you know what technology is. Some of the older ones do not even know how to operate these things. So I think that idea of technology in the world we live here gives us another platform where we can thrive at an association as well. Now, even with the community outreach, the outreaches you go as part of your training, they are powerful. They change people's life. You could see when you give somebody glasses who have never worn glasses before, a child, you could see the smiles in their faces. You could see the joy that the parents have. It changes their quality of life. It changes their educational performance. It changes the way they view life. You're giving them a new form together. And that's what students do. Many of these outreaches are done by students as part of training, but that has a big impact in the community that you're going into. So it's another way to look at it. How then do we use that as not just an opportunity of learning, but also as a platform to fight against preventable blindness? The advocacy is a big thing too. In many countries now, students have made a difference, even in government. Recently, I think is it in Taiwan or somewhere, where students came to the government house because you have to change this law. This law is not going to work for us. They went there, they sat down, students in the entire country changed the whole legislative process. That's the power of students. They are the future of the world we are seeing now. So you have the power to also advocate for optometry in your own countries. Even going to the government and say, look, optometry is not recognized in this country. We are optometry students. We want to have a voice. This is what we do. This is what we can practice. This is how our scope of practice is. Compare that to the US, compare that to Nigeria, compare that to Canada. That's who optometry is. Even with just that consistent knocking on the door, governments listen to young ones. So I think there's so much we could do as an associate. I guess I will stop there because there are some other things, but I know Andrew is a very experienced man and he's got so much to say. So I'll leave that for him now.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Levi. Yeah, so it's nice to see you explain your experience. I think it's the experience for most of us, a good number of us, let me not say most of us. Most of us had a problem when joining the course. It was not a well-known course and all that. And it's actually fascinating when you're in first year and you're in an outreach and you actually see all this happen. It's what's up as in new. I have had some of my classmates explain on how they were very excited when they would see the actual things you're studying in class in real life. Yeah, thank you for giving us your experience. And yeah, I thank you that you have highlighted the power that we have. And I feel like that's a very strong point that we hardly recognize. When we actually realize the power we have, I'm sure there's so much mountains we can move that we are not aware of. Yeah, I also would like to highlight a point that you spoke about technology. And I feel like that is a rich field to be explored, especially in optometry. And yeah, I would want each one of us to keep thinking about that. And maybe, yeah, this could even be a good topic in research and in other areas. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Levi. Yeah. So,
Hey, Rebecca, you're mute. You're mute. We can't hear you.
sorry. Yeah, so I was saying that I would like us to move to Dr. Andrew Wekesa, who will respond to the question and give us his views on the ways in which he thinks that these associations can contribute to the fight against avoidable blindness. Don't also forget to give us your experience about your time, your favorite memory as a student. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think our experience was slightly our experience. Okay.
Is she on mute?
Okay.
Yes, she
So
has been muted.
our experience are slightly different as compared to Dr. Levi's experience, for example, because I was one of the the government-sponsored student into the university. And my dad was like, what are you going to study? I told him optometry. I say, opto what? Which kind of, what is that? And he was like, I want you to study engineering because he has a background of engineering and he has all those things. Even at one point, he refused to pay my school fees in year one. And I had to go and seek some things from maybe some other advices from a community at home until they sat him down and say, look, let the young boy just go and do it. Mm-hmm. And now the time came when we were in the university, in the first class, and they say, okay, we want to introduce ourselves. I introduced myself, and everybody in the class said, you are our class rep. I don't know what is the meaning of class rep. I don't know what is it a class monitor, like in high school where people harass each other? I didn't know much. And we were not given any orientation concerning our course. We were not given any guidelines on how a class rep should do. There you are, you're meeting new people. You don't know what you are supposed to do. Every morning, students calls you, we need this. Our university didn't have even we didn't have optometry at first. We were the optometrists now, students who are there. So we needed also to form the umbrella body that protects us, that links us to other associations. We had established association like education, engineering. They were already established association, which we didn't have ours. So the ball stuck on us. What next? Me and my other colleagues, I had to source other information. There we are. We began with MMUOSA. And MMUOSA came into play. We were limited in terms of our operations until even we left the university without even contributing a shilling to MMUOSA association at large. You can imagine. We didn't know how to go about the activities. We had the umbrella, we registered it, and it was accepted by the university. And a lot happened, which we were not aware of how things used to be. And thankfully, when we came back as now faculty members, we looked at it and realized, look, there's much that can be done. We asked, like we copied from engineering, and they say they have World Engineering Day. They have some aspects like some technology that was discovered, and they celebrate during that day that they have this. So when we asked ourselves, what about eye care? Then we thought that there's something called calendar of events that happens in eye care, like World Glaucoma Day, World Cancer or Cancer Day, that also affect the eye, World like optometry week that we are experiencing. All those eye conditions, they had their own days. And we were like, what if we write posters, we write something on manila papers, and we just walk inside the university compound, explaining to people that, you look, we have glaucoma and it's a silent thief. We just walk around the community, the university vicinity, and just spreading awareness. We didn't know that it's going to be a very big thing. And the whole university was like, what are those people? At first, when we began, they thought that we are striking. Those people, the optometry department is striking. And they were very interested until when they realized, oh, they are being escorted by the security personnel. It means there's something, they're passing a message. That was the starting point. And only that by gesture of us walking around the university, saying that glaucoma is a silent thief, with some printout or some write-up on manila papers, it spread the whole information outside. And the following year, we sought some advice from the university if they can tell us to walk inside the university and even outside the university to also reach the community. That alone, as an association, it is the milestone that it can bring to the sunset. Now, it didn't stop there. When we had a celebration that, okay, we are going to assess some people in town just to give them free eye care, free education, give some of the speeches in one of the centers in the marketplaces in the university, around the university, there is another organization that approached us and say, look, for us, we have eyeglasses we were donated from the US, and we didn't know what to do with it. Can we give you so that you do with something else? I was like, that could be a very good thing. That could be a very good thing. We want that. Then I said, but look, which organization are you? And then they say, okay, we are an organization called United Kenya Rising, and we deal with the poverty alleviation, and we have groups of people that we always go there to those places, and we give information about all those things. Then I ask him, what if our student accompany you while alleviating poverty in those places? They can also spread some news or information about eye health. And mostly if we are dealing with the community, it means that it's a very big step. And the other person was like, so can we now take these eyeglasses to the community where we are going to give this information? You explain to them and give them the glasses, and truly to their words. We said yes. They organize, they mobilize the community, different places that we used to go. We give them glasses. They carry the glasses from themselves. When we go to those centers, we give them some talk, we screen their eyes, and we give the glasses that these people had come with. We say, we don't want to carry those glasses back to school. You go with it and mobilize again to other places that you'll be going. They had like 10 stations, different places. So, and that is how community outreaches for the university started to manifest. And for the past years, for us as lecturers, we can't see all the patients. all the patients in the field. Because when you go to some places, they have mobilized and they have reached close to like 400 patients. 400, and there are only 6 lecturers in the department. Not all of us go. We can't see all of them. So you as a student association and the student body come in handy, and they have been really good to us to make sure that all those places that we go, we score. I want just to report to the panel that is attending now that the university recently, when it was being assessed in terms of performance, and there were some key points which they were used to score. We had in outreaches, there were 47 which were listed for university when they were being assessed. And out of the 47, they only picked 18 to be scored for the university in terms of performance contracting. And guess what? Out of 18, 5 of those units, which they score as health, community health assessment for impact, all of them came from optometry department. And imagine we are the only department in the whole university that boosted the mean for the performance construction in terms of community engagement for the entire university. And the score, it was 97%. So you can realize that it's not only you, because the initiative started from the students, and the impact that you have brought into the society by the gesture of just walking around the university, showing with the placards that, yes, indeed, this is what we are doing, and this is what optometry. And up to now, like recently when we went to a different place called Nakuru, like for the past 3 years, through the association which has linked itself with the other association from the US, what we call SVOSH, Student Voluntary Optometric Association to Humanity, Voluntary Service to Humanity. You can realize that we have seen close to 6,000 patients in Nakuru for the past 3 years that we have been going there. And 6,000 is not a small number. And the awareness and the reports that we get every time and the request, it means that we have a very big role that we have played as a student. We can both say the department has done, but it's not the department, it's the student who have brought those kind of things. I have a lot to talk about, but it's a discussion. I've just answered the question. I will give other opportunities for the other people to say something. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Andrew. Yeah, I feel like this is a story that most of the participants in this panel, those who are listening, will really find to relate with it more, because it's actually about the MMUOSA that most of us are in, that you're talking about, the strides that it has achieved over time. And I think that is really beautiful to listen to that story. Yeah, so thank you very much. And yeah, and one thing one thing that you highlighted, and I would also connect to what Dr. Levi spoke about and Dr. Nishi Gitau, was about student initiative. I think student initiative is something very big, and yeah, which we can also say the power that we have is so much, and we should believe in ourselves and move ahead in planning these outreaches and everything else, collaborations and all that. Dr. Levi's hand is up. I think he has something to say.
Yeah, look, Rebecca, I think I was just really keen with what Andrew narrated. And I don't want us to miss this point, because when you start these sort of initiatives, it looks like the road leads you nowhere. But from what I've seen, if you take one step forward, opportunity takes 2 steps closer to you. You know, it's always been the case. If you don't move from where you are to look for something, you often wouldn't find it. So because he left, he made a step to go out and say, how can we do this? You could see how organizations and communities are now looking for you. And it's important we see that that fear that keeps us to say, look, I don't know what to do, means you haven't really thought about taking a step. Because once you move one step, it happened with EFOS. When EFOS was starting, I spoke to so many people. Anybody I spoke to was like, Levi, I've been thinking about this for years. Even Nishi, who is here, I've been thinking about this for years. Everybody has got the same idea, but nobody is willing to take a step or may not have the facility to do it at that point. So you don't think that where you are, that there's nothing to be done. There's something. So if you think about it, talk to somebody else. Ask somebody, I'm thinking about this idea. Is it something that we can do together? If you're feeling a little bit inadequate, somebody could be the one to spur you up. And then that step changes the whole dynamics of everything. Because of what he did and the colleagues did, Kenya now knows what optometry is. It's popular because people played that role. People took that bold step to say, look, it was hard. And when you're doing this first thing, it's hard because you don't have the resources. You're a student. You don't know whether university will accept you or not. You don't know whether people will like, you're like, what is all this fear here? But something will change once you take a step into it. I think the other thing I also noticed that we as students could look at is in every university where there's an optometry department, they score very highest in community engagement. And government wants that. Government wants universities in locations where they are for the community to feel the impact. I'll give you an instance. If you go for community outreach with a medical doctor, a dental person, they're not going to give them new teeth. A medical doctor will give you medication that you can take for 1, 2, 3 hours, and you need more. Optometry is the only place where they change life at that point. It's the only medical profession where if you give somebody glasses, they see for the rest of their life, you've given them a new life. It's a new experience. So that's why any school with optometry school, they hold it very close because they score very high in curriculum development, very high in community engagement, very high in impact statement. Schools are looking for that. These are what United Nations are asking for. So optometry is really a key to so many countries in the way they operate and they interact with communities. So we don't have to lose that gap. It's important to us.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's very powerful and it speaks to us. If you think you have something that you would want to do and you feel like it's odd or whatever. And sometimes I always think that if you feel you can't do it, then share. Because sometimes he mentioned maybe it's resources, maybe there are many other reasons that this could not be happening. But then you don't know what power you're holding by keeping quiet. Yeah. So Dr. Nishi's hand is up. You may speak, Dr. Nishi.
Okay, thank you very much. Even as Dr. Andrew was talking on how MMUOSA started, it's interesting. The Association of Optometry of Kenya also has the similar experience. It was started, I think, in February 2011, but it was quite dormant for quite some time. I think till around 2016, where it had a leadership, which they tried to create awareness here then. And actually, even I think Dr. Victor will even tell you, by the time we were at that time when I was taking leadership to become the vice president of Optometry Association of Kenya, at that time we had a membership of 27 people. And the issue we always had is the same thing as MMUOSA. We didn't know how to source for funds. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know at what capacity would have as an association, but everything just starts with a step. As Dr. Levi has said, you just have to start, because by the time I was exiting in 2021, I think we had built a capacity of up to 400 people who had enrolled into the association. And we even had our first conference as an association. And it was only over a period of 3 years. And in that same 3 years, we were also able to get the scheme of service completed, inform the scope of practice for eye care providers, and also create a recognition for optometrists through the Kenya Professional Health Site Authority. So I don't think that's even why I'm emphasizing on how you should get collaboration and how all of you should be one, because there's so much power in just starting. Don't even think too far, or how will we be able, just get one leader from Kaimosi, one leader from KMTC, just have discussions, just start. Someone else, even when you're not able to complete it, someone else will complete it. Just as like Dr. Andrew started and his colleagues started MMUOSA, and it has been able to grow. So the message we should all take from this, if we miss everything else, whatever it is, just start.
Yeah, thank you very much for that message. Starting always helps you at least know how the journey, or plan for the journey, as much as you may not be aware on what is ahead. I think it clears your mind and makes you ready and aware of what the journey will be like, which you're probably afraid to start. Thank you very much, Dr. Nishi. Yeah, so still Dr. Nishi, I would want us to move to the next question, which is, what are the challenges that the associations may face and how should they counter them? I think some of them have been highlighted in the stories, in the narrations, and all these things. Yeah, so, but you may still speak now, particularly on this. What are the challenges that the associations may face and how should we counter them?
That's very interesting. Okay, I can speak on behalf of what the challenges we've been having in OAK and also AFCO. The first challenge will be funds, which I'm sure even as MMUOSA, the first challenge you always get is with funding, because at that times people will be very zealous in subscriptions and also renewing their subscription and even registering for the association. And then there are times people don't find the value, or they don't find it beneficial to them. And value and how beneficial it is very subjective. It's very subjective. It's from individual to individual. And anytime you will interact, or when you're asking even people why they're not joining the association, they'll always give you different reasons. And you will always see everyone is just trying to get value addition. So one way to counter that, I think, it's how we can start thinking on how we can create value addition for our members. Yeah, be it through, if we can get, like for Optometry Association of Kenya, one way we found to be beneficial is we have a welfare that in case people are bereaved, and we contribute money every month, and when people are bereaved, they get to put from that kitty. Other ways we've seen, and which was quite an expensive affair, is conferences and webinars. Just like what you're doing right now, webinars have really helped, and to involve engagement, and also to help continuous medical education and CPDs. So mainly those are the challenges. And then the next challenge you will experience is when it comes to advocacy, because in Kenya, we are quite young as optometrists, and chartering our path to get the recognition that we deserve has been quite tedious. But I would also encourage you not to get tired, because for us, during the tenure where I was in leadership in OAK, our biggest challenge was to get a regulatory body because the laws changed. As of 2019, no bill can be passed in the Parliament of Kenya to regulate a body. A body in Kenya. So it has to be under an umbrella body till we meet a threshold, a certain threshold, which at this time they had said is 2,500. Considering we are a relatively young profession, even if we combine all eye care cadres, we cannot get to 2,500. So those are some of the challenges, because the reason of the insistence on the threshold was because of funds. Again, it always goes back to the money, because they're like, when you get a board, how are you able to sustain it? Because you'll need people who will come to come and make checks and balances in the institution. So yeah, so those are some of the challenges. Then the other challenge you will get is also getting your space in the health profession. Though right now I'm seeing it's becoming more adaptable and people are being more open-minded and understanding what optometry is becoming. And I would thank the pioneers, because most of them who've actually become very selfless to actually become trainers themselves have actually are the ones who've created the biggest impact, because the change came when the education and training started getting a different outlook. When optometrists stopped getting the image of we only deal with spectacles, because the approach I'm seeing right now, even when you interact with optometrists who are actually newly graduated, the scope they think of optometry and the way they intend to practice optometry is in a wider scope. And I've seen the difference since when Dr. Andrew Wekesa and his colleagues took up the baton to become the trainers. So I think, yeah, so the funding and the space for advocacy will be the greatest challenges. But also for advocacy, what I'll tell you is do not get tired. As said earlier, just start. You might not be able to finish whatever is started. Like, for example, like by the time I was living in 2021, we had made strides with Kenya Professional Health Site Authority on how we'll come up with a framework to regulate optometry. We had even come up with a checklist on how the professionals in each level, the infrastructure of each level would look like, and even the equipments that would be needed for each level. Because in Kenya, we have levels from level 1 to 6, which level 1 starts as a community base. So we had to come up with a structure of that and how that would look like. So, but with time, I've seen the other regime have been able to complete that and even were able to license it. So don't get tired of door knocking. Don't get tired of talking about what you do. And anytime you get time to interact with anyone, make them know exactly what you do and what capacity you feel and how you can impact lives, because people only see value when they can relate it to themselves and how it can change their lives. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Nishi. I see I can see the practicality of when you say funds, because yeah, it's a challenge, and I think you gave it a very good solution, such that sometimes the funds are a problem because there's no enough value that is being provided. So yeah, thank you very much. That's very eye-opening, and also for advocacy. Yeah, I really feel like that is one of the best ways to finally get up. And yeah, on the point where you were saying you still insisted on just start. I remembered something that I have severally told myself whenever I feel like I'm having doubts, I can't do this and this. Sometimes the worst response you can get is a no. And just that. So just start. The worst that can happen is a no. Thank you very much. Yeah, so we'll have Dr. Levi to give us on what he thinks about the challenges that the associations face and the solutions that he would also suggest for the same. Welcome, Dr. Levi.
Yeah, thanks, Vivek. I think I would take a different approach because I'm a very realistic person with things like this. Look, one of our biggest challenges is ourselves. We are one of the challenges that optometry face. If we want to grow as a practice, as a profession, we need to share information. When you know there's an opportunity, did you tell your fellow colleague? Did you tell your fellow students? The awareness that we create, unfortunately, we as optometrists don't do that quite well. There is no connection between the associations and the student body. So the gap that we create there does not allow sustainability. So what Andrew and the colleagues are doing, how do these young ones know this story? I reckon that this story, you may not even have heard of it before, but that's a story that we should know so it can go down from top to bottom. So we know what fight these people has fought, and then we can lean onto it. But that doesn't get passed to students. So the association is a big body, then the students are here. I mean, that hierarchy doesn't exist here in the Western world. In my community, in my own school of medicine, students are part of our administrative body. They attend our meeting. They have a representative in our board member meetings. A student, to talk about the student issues, to know what we decide, they go back to feed it to the students. So there is a communication link. So when we separate that link, then students do not know what these guys up here are going through. They don't know what fight they've already conquered. You come up and you start fighting exactly what they fought last year. So we are one of the biggest hurdles that we face. So it's important that we see that that gap shouldn't exist in your professional course. There should be a mentorship direct link between your lecturers and yourself because they are your role models at that point. It's a professional course. You want to be like them. You want to know what they know. That's how optometry grows here. So I think we need to close that gap within ourselves. The same thing with student body too. I'm surprised to see that both schools are not here. What are we doing? Why are we not passing information across the hierarchy? It's a horizontal platform. These are students. They should be working together. If you are doing this forum, they should support you. If they are doing your own forum, it's the same country. They feel the impact more when you communicate. So whatever is holding that is a wrong way to lead an association. So students should be talking to each other. They should be working together. If you show collaboration, then other professionals will learn from it. Other students will grow with it. You impact the community more. So I think we are one of the big issues that we face. Now we ran a questionnaire with optometry students, which was presented at AFCO last year. And we found out that more than 60% of optometry students do not know the meaning of AFCO. They don't know what AFCO stands for. This is an African body that represents the entire optometry body in Africa. And students in final year do not even know what AFCO stands for. They don't know what WCO stands for. So you can see then what is the identity that we are creating? There is no identity for these young ones. So if we at the top can look at a way to bridge that gap of information, communication, it will help us to form a bigger body that is formidable. So I think we are one of the issues. Let's start dealing with our own selves first, because that will change in the way everybody sees the association and the things we do. The other thing I also thought of is some of our senior colleagues also have a closed mindset. They don't want to see, it's not for everybody. I see Andrew with the kind of passion he has, but there are very few people like him. From what I've encountered, there are people who do not think that you should know what you know. They see themselves as the lecturers. You're the student. Why should you tell me you know this? That's an African mentality. It's a closed mindset. With that mindset, there is no progress. But we believe that students even know more than lecturers. Sometimes they do because they surf the net more. They are reading things more than you're seeing them. They're telling you the information out there. We should be able to assimilate that students can also bring new ideas. that are meaningful and open our minds to say, look, we are all learning in this force. We are learning, we are growing. It's a medical profession, mate. It's changing every single day. What you know today may not be what people know tomorrow. This dynamic, new information are coming. Students are searching. There's workshops everywhere. There are things online. They could know these things before the lecturer gets to even know. So there should be an open mindset with our own senior colleagues as well to accommodate the students and their learning platform and see that learning these days is a dynamic learning. It can be done anywhere. So I think we need to start having that change of mindset as a body. The other thing I think we also need to look at is the building research capacity. It's a big challenge because the fight against blindness would not be possible if there's no evidence-based information. And evidence in Kenya has to be created by Kenyans. Evidence as to how blindness is affecting Kenyans has to come from you guys, not from somebody in the UK putting data on Kenya, talking about Kenya. It doesn't work that way. So we should own our data. We should be the ones in student group creating the data that will tell us a story about what's happening in Kenya. So why don't we get involved in research? What Andrew is doing, has any student gone to Andrew and said, okay, can we look at your data? It's my project for this year. I will analyze the data, I will tell the story. That's a project, that's a final year project for a student. Can students say, look, I want to go in this comment, all the outreaches we've done, how many people have blindness that we've seen? What have we done? Can we interview them? Can we see what their quality of life is? Can we ask them how they are finding things? How do they do normal daily activities? Can somebody just take that on board and say, look, in Kenya, we found that A, B, C, D, E happens. That's what the world wants to say. Because when there's research, when there's evidence, people will look for you. They will look for that data, and creating that data from a local body like this group will be very impactful in the community. You can use it for advocacy, for policy change, for even the change in optometry practice, because you're showing how impactful your work has been in the community, and government will listen to that voice. So I think we need to start grooming students for even from third year, fourth year. Let them get involved in the little research that goes around. And that will help them to build confidence and to see how they can use that data to drive change. So it's important that we get that going within our space. For funding, I think there are so many other things that have changed as well. Funding is an issue, but for an association, there are some other things you can get funding from. I heard Andrew talk about VOSH. VOSH gives a grant of about $2,000 every year. If you are going to do research, you have a good proposal. That $2,000 is enough for any African body, any association to do research for a year. They could use that $2,000 to do their logistics, their transportation, write a paper and do something together, even create an association. You can run with that for a year. You can say, okay, we'll use that body to build association and do webinars, design your webinars in series for education purposes. They will fund it. So many other things, one side ACLO, those bodies are interested in working with Africans. They just need to find a body that is organized, structured, and can deliver that. You have people like Andrew who have shown that they can do stuff. Then they can be your body to say, okay, through Andrew, the students are working on this project. He will supersede that. He will oversight that. That helps you. So we need to see the opportunities there, but I think that awareness is not there to know what are those opportunities out there that we can leverage. And that is where people like us and AFCO, WCO come in to say, look, this is what we can help you to generate, then link to this body because they're going to help you to fund this. The other thing also I want to let us know is not every collaboration is right collaboration. We need to be very careful with people we work with. It has to be people that are interested in developing the resource that Africa has. It's people who are going to invest in you, who want you to grow as a person, as an institution. Not people who are coming to take your data and run away with it and do something they want to do. They tell their own story. So always look out for collaboration that will impact your community. It's important that we look at it, and those collaborations exist. If you search for them, if you look at them, look at their history, what they've done before, ask your senior colleagues, they will be there for you. Now, another challenge is we need to get involved in our local associations. The Kenya Optometry Association needs to have a student representative in the executive board. Fight for that because it's your right to know what they are doing. If you don't know, you'll be repeating what they've done 10 years ago again, starting from fresh. You need to know where they are now. What fight are they fighting? How can the students help them? You work together. And if you ask the don to tell us, if you can't get it, let us know. We'll write emails to the highest body. They have to have a student in their midst, because then that's the only way we can let the student be part of what we are doing, to get them galvanized, to get them interested in what optometry is. People have lost vision. Everywhere in Africa, any student you talk to, they don't know what to do when they graduate. But there are opportunities for postgraduate studies. There are master's degrees you can do. There are PhD progress. There are scholarships out there, but nobody's telling us this. The senior colleagues who know it are not linking the younger ones up to those opportunities. It's not okay. So we need to change the way we think about ourselves. And if we do, we'll be there tomorrow. We'll be the global voice for optometry. Africa has got the need. We have the passion. We have the people. Let's work together.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Levi. When you said you were taking a different approach, I didn't know it was to be to this extent. So to be honest, I think my mind is shook and I am challenged to think differently, especially when you say the challenge is ourselves. We hardly think that we are the challenge in most things. We are always quick to point to outside things. Not to say that those are not challenges, but I feel like this is actually a very different approach that will call for us to think around other things that we probably may not have noticed before. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sorry my network had a problem somewhere in the middle. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we'll have Dr. Andrew Wekesa um, to tell us some of the challenges within the associations and the solutions that he thinks may be important for them. I think that since he has been within the MMUOSA association, he would be in a very good position to actually speak on what is on the ground. Yeah, he may have already spoken about some of the things, but we'll give him this chance to specifically speak about those. Welcome, Dr. Andrew.
Oh, thank you once more. When most people have explained most of the important points, sometimes, Rebecca, you are not fair. You're leaving me to not to have any points to speak about. So next time you start with me, maybe next time. But that notwithstanding, I want to give a scenario. When you hear that somebody is a member of Christian Union, for example, or a member of those local organizations like La Visa, member of my community, and so forth, they are very enthusiastic. They are very vocal when they are called upon to come and maybe contribute something. They're there, and you can see the zeal of how those people move with such a movement, the way it maybe comes and present themselves. But when it comes to profession, I don't know why people find it so difficult to just seize the opportunity and say, yes, this is where I belong. And you belong more to the profession than what even in those local associations entails more. So the first thing that some of the challenges that has been is the acceptance by the students to own the association itself. Because we struggle a lot, like even me, I keep on even reinforcing and say, if you are not going to subscribe, you will get us who. And people are like, oh, so we need to subscribe. If you're not going to subscribe, you'll not go to these kind of things. And some people weigh between going to that thing and even not subscribing. Is it that important? So those are the first challenge is for us as students. We have never owned the association that governs us, mostly the professional association that we mostly link us to other entities. Professional association itself, you'll get a lot of networks. One of the things that will be there, I think professional association needs to be streamlined in such a way that it pushes opportunities to people. Like what Dr. Levi is trying to explain to us, that we have opportunities. Yes, but when you come back to us, when you come back to the department and you say, this class needs to subscribe, like for second year, we are going to have dinner. gala dinner, for example, on Friday. And the people, I was so surprised to see that very few people whom we are going to have what you call white coat ceremony, which is a very important aspect for the second years to join what you call the clinical years. You realize that out of 60, only 20, less than 20, have subscribed or maybe paid or made a commitment that they'll be going to join. That shows how reckless we are in terms of fostering the profession at large. We should, once you finish first year, you should be in good position to have given yourself a sound mind that you are going to be in this profession. And if you're going to be in this profession, what are some of the things that you need to push forward for it to grow, for it to blossom? I will have a small caveat from the normal, from the association for the students, and maybe give an example like the overall body of association. We were the first people to start pushing about Optometry Association of Kenya. And we used to spend a lot of money. Like sometimes somebody just calls and say, can we have a meeting tomorrow? And some people can contribute. Somebody like we can give like $100. You give $100 to us, the contribution to us, just for free, because you want something to happen. And from there, if I always put on a t-shirt of optometry and walk in the university compound, everybody like, please, can you give me this t-shirt? Can you have this? I'm associating myself to the profession. I say, everybody outside is envying. You people, you have a lot of connection. You people, every time you put on new t-shirts and all those things, that one alone, it gives you that sense of belonging. So we have really struggled in terms of telling students to subscribe to this association, just because of the recklessness that the students they have. It's high time we need to encourage them. First of all, when they come to the first year, I think because of the threat that maybe you will not be given a class to study, now you need to register to the association, and those threats should not work anymore. People should just be responsible enough to have that. When we realize that we have activities in the universities, mostly carried out by associations, and funding became a challenge. There's something that we heard when we were asked a few of the sponsors, and the sponsors are more willing to sponsor the student than the lecturers. Because if you say it's going to have a significant impact to the students towards something, the sponsors will quickly say, okay, I think that is what we are going to do. Like you remember recently when I called Nelson and say, Nelson, we have best performing students and we need to have this. He said, no, I'll tell Bosch to give us, to give them as gift. And true to his word, he brought 20 trial sets, which for startup. You can imagine that kind of things. It's easier to give those equipment to the students, but not to the university, to us, a department as individual. So the role, some of the funding issues that we had, I think a little bit is becoming obsolete, because we have had goodwill with local entities, like a local outlet like Optica, like ACLO, like Kenya Society of the Blind. When the student body writes to them that we have an activity tomorrow, and we want to go to do these things and these things. The only thing, the response they come, the body cannot fail the student, but it can give excuse to the department at large. And even Amolo, who is here, can confidently say, whatever they write, they always get a positive feedback. Positive feedback towards it. So it means that once the student body is organized, it has small monies that people give in terms of subscription. And subscription, actually, when you get those subscription, I see you spend most of them as refreshment. We have small meetings and all those things. Those ones cannot even run the association. But when you write to those entities that you say, yes, we have this function that is going to be this, and this is our budget. What are you planning to fund us? Trust me, they have always come through to us because of the good rapport. For us is to provide for you the addresses. And once you send the email as a student body, we always call and say, our students have approached you, have you seen? And in most cases, they say, okay, we have responded and we are working on it. and it has been having a positive impact. Challenges have been there, but not as much to the extent to cripple the operations of the association. Association is still intact. And when I ask myself where we were like 5 years or 10 years ago and where we are now, trust me, there's no match between any association in the entire university with MMUOSA, which is maybe making a lot of strides towards maybe prevention of this avoidable blindness. Just in a nutshell, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Andrew. Coming last was not the least position you could have. It was a special position because we are aware that you as much as you're a panelist, you're also more tied to the MMUOSA association and to the students. So it's more like you wrap it up well. You see, you have even real life stories, you have what is actually going on the ground. Yeah. So thank you very much. And yeah, and I would also like to highlight something that you spoke before about the performance through the outreaches and all these things. I think that is a very wonderful thing for us to know that we had this much contribution towards the school's performance. And I think that's really wonderful. Yeah, thank you very much. And I think you've also emphasized more about the students. And I think one thing I'm coming out of this panel discussion is that the students have so much power within them. There is so much within us than we always try to look out for in other areas. So thank you very much, Dr. Andrew. So at this point, I think we'll be able to take up questions. I don't know if there are any questions that have been posted in the chat box. Since my network was a problem, I'm not sure if I can be able to see all of them. Stanley, help us to see if there are any questions. Is Stanley around? Yeah, because I'm assuming that Stanley was probably in the meeting the whole time, or is he there? Okay, if he's not around, I'll request Patience to help me if she was there throughout the meeting so that I cannot assume any questions.
So Rebecca, can I ask a question?
Okay.
Yeah, I want to ask Andrew what the association is doing to also get the students involved in what they do. And if it's not happening now, what would Andrew advise the association to do? Because I see the disconnect here, and I think it's going to play a big role in how students identify even with the student association. Because when you feel lost, you just think this is not home for me. So people sign out from this association because they don't see future in optometry. But if they start connecting with the senior ones to see that there's really something beyond this space, it does help them to identify with the student association as well. So what would be Andrew's advice and how would the association work towards that?
Yeah, let's have Dr. Andrew.
Andrew, you're muted.
You're on mute, Dr.
You're muted.
Okay. Leadership change. And in most cases, sometimes because I was one of I think the longest serving patron of close to 4 years for this MMUOSA association, seeing it to see how it works. And since I've seen the reduction in terms of association subscription and so forth and connection that it entails, a lot of effort that is being pushed towards it, I've realized that I wanted to even talk to the national association body, and what we have, what you call it, the student once the student graduate, we want to have a very well synchronized way of doing things, and one of them is that every year we want to. I'm introducing something called a certificate for the association for the student. every year, once you are in first year, you are going to the second year, we give you a certificate of from the association for being in good understanding and some of the activities maybe you engaged yourself in, what you call overall activities that maybe this year, these students participated in optometry activity in as an umbrella in the association, and then second year and third year and up to the final year, so that the OC and I know Dr. Nishi is here. When we want to register this person to as the bigger association, the person must have all the five certificates. That it is this person actually, it's a form of assurance that this person has been having a good standing with the association in the university. So you can still be a good person in understanding, in good stand with the association at national level. So that was just my way of thinking when I was looking at it. I didn't want to disclose it here, but that privilege, that things has just prompted me to explain to them that every year, at least if the association allows that, the students, at least the minimum should have the certificate from the institution should be around 4. So that we know that this person actually participated in all the association activities while he or she was in the university. So I think that is just a small initiative that we want to see how these people will be motivated. And subscription is very limited. It's 0.1. How many? 50 shillings? What is the subscription?
50 shillings.
Is when you convert into is like 0.5, $0.5 or $1. Is that is not even much. Even if that's small, little the way, it shows a very big gesture in terms of how this student will be. So I wanted, after maybe we finish, maybe my colleagues, most of them are not around. When they come back, we have some discussion with the patron, because I'm no longer the patron, but I keep on supporting the association. But once the patron comes in, I suggest to her that this is what we are planning, and what do you think? And we reinforce from our end, just to make sure that we are close together as we move forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Andrew. I think this also reminds me of what Dr. Nishi said about value addition. And I think that is really coming together in the same way, such that when the members are able to see that this is what the association is providing us with, it gives more, it makes them more willing to actually subscribe to the association. And I think that's what you're actually saying with the certificates, with all those. And I think that's wonderful. Yeah. So I don't know if Dr. Levi is answered.
Sorry, Nishi's hand is up. I think Nishi wants to add to that.
Okay, yeah, Dr. Nishi, you can speak.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad Dr. Levi brought that question, and it was actually one of the things we have been discussing, Dr. Levi and I, because of efforts, and I kept on, and even I brought it to the executive of African Council of Optometry. I told them we are missing a big link, and there's a disconnect between the student bodies and the mother association bodies for each country, because there's an emphasis on that hierarchy. So I told them, if there's an emphasis, why aren't we reaching out to the students? And that's why I made it an initiative, and I actually contacted Stanley. You can remember, I think we had a meeting, MMUOSA and OEK executives, and even we have a WhatsApp group where we communicate, because I felt it's very, very important. We are losing a lot of leadership capability, and also our associations. And even right now, the reason why you don't know AFCO and WCO, it's because we are running still. We are having the same people leading, whilst we are losing the disconnect. It's because we are not involving the younger leaders. And I feel that's where That's the only way we can have progression. We are not progressing because we are always disconnecting. Because in AFCO, we've had, you'll find like from one leadership to another, you'll find like 3 or 4 people were in the previous regime. And I don't feel that's healthy. That's why even I stood only for 1 term because in OAK, because I feel it's very beneficial to give other people opportunity to lead. Because my strengths are not your strengths. And when you always come, you will always add on to whatever I have blind spot. But when you come in, you bring the new energy, and that's how we bring continuity. And I'm glad even Dr. Andrew mentioned about it, the change in leadership. That's very important. And I would still like to urge you. I told you I graduated in 2017 and 2018 I was in leadership. That's why I'm insisting on MMUOSA leadership. I want all of you, even once you graduate, I would really be elated to see all of you actually contesting for the executive bodies. You do not understand. I think you do not know much, but I think you know more than you think you know. You're always in a capacity to bring that leadership. So that disconnect is what is not bringing continuity to the association. For example, right now we are lacking and we're lagging behind in our social media presence. I know all of you, and I've even seen the way Stanley has been able to connect OAK and MMUOSA leadership. And it's because it's very interactive with social media. And those are some of the things we need. We just need more visibility as association to even make it sure that we should also, other than having MMUOSA, we should also have Kaimosi with us, and we should also have KMTC. I would like it to be in a scenario where all optometry schools in Kenya have one umbrella body and they have representation in OAK. And actually, if you remember from our last meeting where we had with MMUOSA leaders, that's what we were discussing. We wanted to have your own leadership to have representation in our own association. So please, but I'll keep on pushing because I feel that's the gap. That's what is making us lose steam, and that's what is bringing the disconnect between the association, because you're already serving as leaders. What you're doing right now is the same thing you'll come and do in the associations. There's not really much of a difference. You're optometrist already. And I would also like what Dr. Levi said, even in terms of research, I would like it to begin from even first year. Even if it's them coming and helping you mobilize the patients or mobilize people or help just being people, because that's the only way you learn. And the only way we learn is through repetition and being involved. And even I've seen one of the questions that have been posed is that the younger colleagues feel like they're not being involved. So let's find a way to always collaborate and engage each other from as early as first year, be it in research, be it in association programs. I believe there's always space for everyone, and we can always find, because we always lack manpower when we are looking for people to go to the fields for the outreaches. We're lacking representation sometimes when we want to go probably to the Ministry of Health to have advocates. Also, the students should be there, because part of you're the same people. We're advocating for you people, and you're the same people who will come to the field. So I don't see why we are not involving you at this stage. Yeah, so I think that's what we should really focus on how to collaborate and how to involve everyone from as low as the grassroots level. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Nishi. Yeah, I think it's the way you're talking about this collaboration, I think it's actually bringing more visibility to some of the gaps that could probably be. causing some challenges here and there. Yeah, and yeah, even that suggestion of even first years to be involved in research and all that thing, I've actually thought that it's actually in these years that we're actually probably holding their, how can I say, their interest, or we're actually losing them from the associations. And I find that to be, it speaks much to what picture do we give, what first image do we give, because these are the youngest people probably we can say in the profession, and the picture they have is probably the picture that we also give to people who actually are not even part of the profession. Yeah, so thank you very much, Dr. Nishi. I hope, Dr. Levi, you answered, but you may ask where you feel like, yeah, was not really answered.
No, thanks, Rebecca.
Actually, I'm thinking Dr.
Yeah.
Opio wants to add on something.
Yeah, Dr. Pio wants to add. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Dr. Pio, you may speak.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know whether I'm audible enough.
You are. Proceed.
Okay, I'm not one of the best public speakers, and I appreciate the audience and the presence of my seniors, Dr. Levi, Andrew. I see the likes of Helen and the executive OAK. I just wanted to put a word on what Dr. Levi asked, because I've been here ever since the start of this discussion. And first of all, I'd like to thank the MMUOSA for putting up this together. From the words of Dr. Levi, it is not easy. I've been in this leadership for the last 6 years. I know what it costs. Time, energy, resources, coordinating all this is not easy. Sometimes it can get out of your head. So Dr. Levi asked a very good question. The last question he asked was about how do we bridge these gaps? How do we go about these disconnects? Number one way I felt was like many others have agreed, it is our moral obligation to love our profession, and it starts with ourselves. You can't be here preaching about MMUOSA and you don't love OAK. That is totally not appreciable, and it is not good practice. So first of all, it is our moral obligation to belong to our society. It is an identity. And that is why when Dr. Levi was starting, I made a joke of why he has not thanked the ancestors. Because it is how we identify with our Africanacity. That is how we identify with optometry. We identify with optometry through the association, through AFOS, through OAK, through WCO. So one of the things that we need to do during early stages in school is, number one, when someone is registering for an optometry course, during orientation, it is good to make them know that there is a body for this profession, and these are the roles and the benefits of belonging to this body. With that, you'll find yourself being nurtured from the word go that I'm going to do optometry, and through optometry, there is a foundation that I can follow as I grow. Number two is another way is there are legal ways of how to put things at the university level. Like if you're registering for optometry, as a faculty, we can just come up with an idea that as you are being administered, you pay 200 for directly towards MMUOSA, so that it becomes our tradition. Even though belonging to a society is an individual, it is a decision you can make yourself. But these are things that we can make ourselves. That if you're going to join optometry, you have to subscribe to MMUOSA, and you just pay 200 bob. You see, those are some small things that we miss. And again, in Africa, people like seeing the benefit of what they are doing. And again, as much as we do all these stuffs as MMUOSA, also we should make sure that the benefit of belonging to MMUOSA are seen. People, Dr. Levi won't be paying 200 shillings and is not seeing what that 200 shillings is doing. So what that 200 shillings is going to do should be luminous. Everyone should be able to see, and we should be accountable for every single coin. So I think I was just making pregnant the points of Dr. Wekesa on how best can we make sure that all these disconnects are not there. Then lastly, I just wanted to add on what Nishi has said. As a society, we experience different challenges. But MMUOSA, OAK, AFOS, and ETC, one thing that has to be clear in black and white, we are just a pressure group to make things happen. As short as that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Pio. I'm sorry I hadn't seen your hand. Yeah, so I think, yeah, you have really emphasized those points in a very clear way. And yeah, and I think that's one thing we need to look on the relation between MMUOSA and OAK and how that should be made to be efficient and smooth and all okay. Yeah, so yeah, thank you very much for everyone for your contribution and for those who were listening. So I'll go through the comments section shortly to see yeah, there's a comment by Dr. Levi saying the students through webinars like this webinars like this will help students identify with the association. People feel lost in optometry while studying. Forums like this bring hope and increase engagement. Yeah, sure. I think that's one of the things that we have actually seen through this whole conversation. And then in most cases, there was a question where the junior years are feeling that they are being left out. I think that was answered by Dr. Nishi. And yeah, I think that's what we have in the comment section that I can see as per now. Yeah, thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much, our panelists. Thank you very much, Dr. Levi. Thank you very much, Dr. Nishi. Thank you very much, Dr. Andrew Wekesa. Your contribution was very valuable and we really appreciate. And we feel like from your positions, we really feel like our minds have been opened. From what you have shared, we feel like we're challenged to do better, and we are very much grateful to you, our panelists today. Yeah, and thank you to all to the audience, to the students from most, to those who are from the undergrad students, postgraduate students. Thank you very much. From those from OAK, we thank you very much for being here with us. I think it needed all of you people to make this day a success, and the discussion panel will not make sense if the audience was not here, and even all others who may also have joined us, friends, and yeah, who may not be really part of the profession. We thank you very much for also your attendance. In any case, there's such a person. We thank you very much for being here. And yeah, I see there's a comment. Let me see. Yeah, please, let's look for our friends at CAFO and KMTC. Yeah, I think that is very important. Yeah, I hope that the leaders within MMUOSA are keenly noting this down. Yeah, Kafu, yeah. Thank you very much, Stanley, for the response. Otherwise, I think we have come to the end to this panel discussion. I will hand over to Stanley.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for that nice presentation. It was such a nice session learning into actually the insights that we have had in this meeting. So do we have anyone who wishes to say anything before we close it up? Anyone from the association? Anyone from Air Force? Student?
Okay, thank you.
Before we close it up?
Thank you, Bwana President. I know one day you'll be here. We are waiting for you. So just a quick one. I just wanted to make a communication to the students, and this one has to be clear. We kindly request that as much as we are trying to find on how we can marry and how one can transition smoothly from the school to maturity, that is becoming an OAC member, it is quite clear that we need to bring the three institutions offering optometry together Dr. Levi has been here, and when you hear him talk about the problem being ourselves, that statement is very compound. Sometimes some of these issues are not coming from the students. They are coming from the big men. So it is not an easy task, but I pray that we get the wisdom on how we can go through about it. One thing about me is I always finish what I've started. And I believe that through the support of many others, we shall get to the point. Secondly, I wanted to highlight that as it stands, optometry is regulated in this country through Kenya Health Profession Oversight Authority, though it is an umbrella-like regulation, because we are many cadres, and that one people who have experience will tell you that in many countries, optometry is married to many other cadres. Finding a few countries have optometry with a board as a standalone. So as it stands, we are licensed, and we request all optometrists who are here to make sure that you are licensed. It is an identity. You can't keep complaining about quacks being on the field and you are refusing to be licensed as a profession. It is also illegal to see a patient without being licensed. All matters constant. As much as we are crying for licensing so that we can shed away quacks, but let's make a step. Let it start with us first. Let us have that identity that I'm an optometrist, I'm licensed. As it stands, we have a scope of practice. We have a career guideline that help us to be incorporated into the public sector. So as optometry in Kenya, we have made very big strides because as it stands, we are giving birth to over 60 optometrists annually. And so we also have to look at where are we going to place these people that we are producing as from the school point. So things are going very well. The only thing is, as a cadre, we have fights from both sides, but through this energy that we are having together from the students to OAK, I know we shall achieve. In short, optometry is regulated. We have a scope of practice. We have a career guideline that define our paths. And we are currently advocating for establishment of optometry personnel in all the counties so that we can create access and make sure that our services are available to those people in urban, peri-urban, and the marginalized areas. Lastly, I would like to appreciate and thank the likes of Dr. Levi for taking time. I heard during the start that it is morning there. Here it is we are heading towards midnight. I would like to thank the likes of Andrew for taking the bold step, standing
I think we lost a PO there. Maybe network was an issue.
Okay. I don't know the point that he had made. He had made it, but we can continue from there. So, do we have any other representative from the association?
So with those few remarks, I believe optometry is luminous and the future is promised. Let's just keep going. Thank you.
So to the rest of the students that we have, so this marks the end of the day three activity towards the World Optometry Week. And we are at the insights that we have gained from this experience from today, we'll be able to actually apply them so that we can be able to move forward as an association and even as individual students. From this knowledge that you have gained today, how are you going to apply it in the rest of the week and even in the future? So tomorrow we are going to visit the Remand Children's Home. For those who will manage to get there, please let us be able to really synergize so that we can make everything easy for each and every one of us. Then also remember that we are having a webinar that, as I had announced to you in our student group, that is involving EFOS and Octoglobe as a whole, that we shall be discussing on the role of students actually again in Space 2030 and generally celebrating the World Optometry Week. And that webinar is set to change how the students, how the world itself views optometry and the change we can actually bring about as students in the optometry field. Finally, we'll be having a dinner. Once again, I'd like to announce to you that it is still set for Friday from 5 p.m. So remember to attend so that you can be able to, we can be actually able to celebrate together the strides that we have made as an association, the strides that we have made as students, the strides that the professionals have made, the strides that the school has made as a whole towards making this optometry profession a greater thing. Thank you so much, guys, and see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Stanley. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a blessed moment.